Welcome to Wellness Rebranded, the podcast for women ready to redesign their relationship with food, fitness, and feelings.
We are a registered dietitian, a personal trainer, and a mental health therapist. 3 experts, 1 mission.
To help you break free from diet culture, hustle culture, and emotional burnout, let's redefine what wellness really means on your terms.
So I was contacted recently to provide a workshop for this institution, and they were looking for the topic on, let's call it, resistance. So basically the idea is that many people know what to do when it comes to maybe change the way they eat or move more or even take their medications that have been prescribed to them, but many struggle with how to do it consistently, right? Especially maybe feeling under stress or low motivation, lack of support. I mean, today we want to talk about just that, guys, resistance. Like what happens when we know what to do, we have resources out there, and still it's very, very hard.
I also want to talk about this because I have had several clients recently where the topic of resistance has been coming up, and mostly around exercise. They have been sharing that they have so much resistance to really exercising, and they were, as we've dug in and really talk about it, it's kind of like a lot of stuff has come up for people. Things like just not feeling comfortable in the gym, feeling as though people would judge them, or not having any idea kind of how to exercise, or thinking back to maybe things that came up as a child around their physical activity, or things people said about their bodies, or just thinking that they don't like it. It's always been a negative thing that's associated with sort of dieting. And
So belief patterns that we bring.
yeah, and I wanted to say also, when you were kind of initially saying it's not just about being consistent, but sometimes just getting started.
Yeah.
A lot of resistance comes up. So yeah, I'm so anxious to chat about this and hear some of what you guys are going to share, because I think anyone who works in the health and wellness space, you're always working with some level of resistance, right? And people are in different stages of change, and being able to recognize where they are and then help them move forward is part of the job, I think.
Yeah.
So, like, the way that this comes up for me and my clients is not so much that they're resistant to exercise or whatever, because once they've gotten to me, they're past that point, right? But I will have resistance to going into like certain parts of the gym. Like, oh, I'm going to come to the gym, but I don't go back there. Or I'm going to come to the gym, but I'm not going to do that exercise for whatever reason. Like, they will be almost like scared or uncertain about certain types of exercise.
I thought you were going to say that it comes up in resistance to squats and lunges.
Usually it's Bulgarian split squats. That's the one everybody hates.
For me, when you were saying, yes, in my field, mental health field, one that comes up sometimes with resistance to continuing therapy, or it's that sometimes we expect for the results to happen very quickly. Like, I want to feel better in 1 or 2 sessions. Like, the expectation is this magic wand that sometimes therapists should have to make us feel better, or fix these issues I have with my partner, or make my kids listen right away if I'm bringing them to you as their therapist. And without maybe the deep understanding that going to therapy requires work and effort and investment and commitment.
Yeah, I was going to say the resistance of wanting the fast results, but also kind of feeling aggrieved in some way of not wanting to put in the work, right? Or feeling angry. Like, I'm thinking of other conversations I often have with clients of sort of like, but why do I have to, focus on this when it seems like it just comes so naturally to other people and it's not a thing for them?
And sometimes in the case of therapy, sometimes we wait until we're really depleted and we have no more energy to work on an issue to come to therapy. So then when it's expected that we put some effort, we feel that we don't have anything left to give. So then is what I say, don't come to therapy when it's maybe too late. That's what therapy could also be preventive in and not when the crisis comes, because then we're not on our best a place to work on ourselves or our relationships if we are in crisis, right?
I've always said that I think therapy should be something that you do no matter what, at least twice a year, like going to the dentist. Like,
Agree.
just check in. Let's see if everything's good. And if we need to catch it, we can catch it early,
Girl.
because we do wait till we're burnt out and in crisis. And then we go and it's like, oh, it's a lot of work.
That happens a lot with couples therapy. It's like, we went and we got a divorce. Yeah. When did you go? Like, the therapist cannot do miracles, right? Like, if you went when you were done, what were you expecting? So it wasn't that you went to therapy and that's why you got a divorce. Is that we probably went too late. Another thing that makes me think that I learned from you, Elizabeth, and I've said this before.
Ooh la la, what is it?
Well, I've learned many things from you, but one of them, good and bad, just, but talking about the good, what's up, Kitty? One is another thing that could be an obstacle for us to start or continuing this journey is the all or nothing thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Right? Like, oh, if I can't do it perfectly, so why even trying at all, right? Or that mindset that, working on that mindset of progress over perfection. And I learned from you that as long as you do it, most of the time or as much as you can do, it doesn't have to be all the time. Or for example, our own episode on exercise snacks that changed my own life, because now I do, how do you call those? The calf raises when I shower. Or if I go up the steps because I need to do something in my bedroom, I go down, up, and then go look what I need to look. So if all that counts, I'm adding up little by little. But when we have that all or nothing thinking, it can be something that prevent us from reaching those goals that we want to reach.
Yeah.
Have I told you guys the story about this trainer I know that before she was a trainer, she joined the gym and didn't go for like a year, and how she like baby stepped it into where she is now?
No, but I'm super fascinated. Anytime somebody starts a sentence with "Have I told you the story of?" like I'm pretty much like I'm ready. Lay it on me.
So this person that I know, she joined the gym like years ago, like a decade ago, and she was too intimidated to actually like go into the gym. So she would go every day after work. Like, she told herself she was going 5 days a week. She'd go every day after work. She would park in the parking lot and turn her car off and sit there for 5 minutes. And she'd set a timer and she would just sit there. And then timer went off. She'd turn the car back on and then she would go home. And so she paid for her gym membership to do that. Which,
It's
by
almost
the
like
way,
exposure therapy.
you can do for free. And then after a year, she was like, I need to take the next step. So she would park and go in and she would say hi to the people at the front desk. And eventually they got to know her a little bit and she would chat for 5 minutes and then she would get back in the car and leave. Yeah. And then she discovered that her gym had a hot tub. So she was like, all right, I'm going to go hot tub every night after work. So she would go and sit in the hot tub. And little by little, slowly over time, she decided she was going to do some cardio. So she would get on the treadmill and do a little bit of that. And then after like years of baby stepping it up like this, one of the trainers just kind of offhandedly said like, dude, you're here every day. You should lift some weights sometime. And she was just like, yeah. Like, I don't know about that. Like, should I do that? So she like figured out how to do the machines. And then she actually bought a couple of sessions of training from that trainer who showed her how to do free weights. And it like inspired her whole life and her whole career. And now she's a personal trainer and she's like very well known and been doing it for a decade.
That's an amazing story. I love this
it.
person.
Bless
That's
her heart.
so cool. That
Yes.
determination is amazing. And I might say it leads right into one of my things that I try to help people, or one of the things that I suggest when I'm trying to help people overcome some resistance is I jokingly say, let's go micro instead of macros, which, you all get the dieting reference there. I think, but go micro. Like, what's the simplest, smallest, tiniest way that you can baby step into this? Let's do that. And sometimes it's a lot easier to string those together than to think about, anything else.
Yes.
Yeah, completely agree. I call that my BAM, my bare ass minimum.
Yeah, it's
so
funny. We all have a name for it.
Instead of like starting people out with 5 days a week at the gym, which I would never recommend, like let's go once a week and see what happens.
Okay, so Maria, I genuinely want to know. I sort of have my notes here of what I think of when I think of resistance and what would be helpful. But so when this organization reached out to you and they want you to give this talk on resistance, what immediately came up for you of like, oh, these are the things I have to share?
So one of them was the all or nothing thinking. Another one is an important concept in psychology, which is learned helplessness.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have this belief that it's not going to work out for me, or I'm too old to do this, so I'm not even going to try. So it is important to learn what this means, not only for the provider, in the case this organization that wants to motivate people, but also for education for ourselves, that sometimes we can have this thinking too, like it's not going to work out, it's too late, or I don't deserve it, which is a different than learn helplessness. But those things are important to recognize because they happen often, and it can come from previous experiences, it can come from all that. The other thing is that we kind of touched on it, is also sometimes the shame, the anxiety, the guilt, the self-criticism that can come from these processes of starting those baby steps towards something that you want to reach, and being prepared to have those steps back. Like sometimes you feel like you're doing great, and then other days you feel like you didn't move your body at all that week, or you whatever it is that you did that week, and then it comes the guilt and
The path is never linear.
exactly. But it's important to understand because it's still a path. If you're going around a little bit and then straight and then make a turn and then a U-turn and then straight again, you're still moving forward in a way, right? Like it's
Totally. Elise Resch, who's one of the founders of intuitive eating, talks about a spiral of healing. And she literally draws on a piece of paper, a line that starts at the bottom and it spirals around and around and around and around. And it's, the direction is upward. But every spiral, there's those loop backwards. And I think when people hit the loop backwards, they think that they're failing or they're not getting it or they should give up. But actually, every time you go around that backward loop, you're learning and integrating and have an opportunity to sort of practice and until you're ready for the next step. And so instead of looking at those backward slides as sort of a negative or a failure, they're actually important things are happening there.
yes.
I feel like they're actually giving you momentum to slide you into the next upward trend.
Well, momentum, and there's a lot you can learn from those backward steps, right? And sometimes you just need to go around the circle again.
Time to chew on what
Yeah.
you learned, right? Like
Yeah.
Absorb it.
Something else that I thought about is, and I think we've talked about this before, there is so much information out there on what you should be doing and what is the next thing and what is what you should be eating and how exactly you should be moving, that it can be so overwhelming that we freeze. When I'm overwhelmed, I freeze, right? I'm like, you know what? I don't even want to do anything. Like it's so much, like where do we start? And that's a valid thing that can happen, right? Like it is even guiding things that we can, it could be even trial and error, but there's so much information out there that could be stressful
Oh, totally.
just to know what to choose.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming. And kind of hearing you talk about the shoulds, feeling like what you should do or what you quote unquote have to do, that's for me always where the conversation about your values comes in. What is important to you and meaningful for you and why? And if you can connect it to your values or see how maybe what you're saying your values are misaligning with what your actions are, then I find with working with people that sometimes that's an important piece of overcoming resistance. I also think it's important to name it, right? A lot of times resistance can show up as us making excuses, right? We're just like, I don't have time for that, or I'm too busy for that, or I'm too stressed out, or this isn't the right time, or,
I don't have the money.
Resistance tends to come up as it tends to sound like excuses. And so for me, sometimes I think an important kind of initial step of overcoming resistance is being able to acknowledge and name it. Like, okay, these are the excuses I'm telling myself, but what I'm really experiencing is resistance right now. And then I love the question of, to me, there's a few questions that then you can start asking yourself always. What does this resistance feel like in my body, right? How's it showing up? But then why does this feel hard or uncomfortable? What is this resistance trying to protect me from, or what's it trying to tell me?
Which brings to two things. One, and we kind of talked about this in the episode about GLP-1s in a way, but sometimes there's also fear of change. Sometimes even the change can be, I mean, it's redundant, life changing. Like, for example, I heard of a case of a woman who she wanted to, do several things to lose weight, for example. And then she was bringing a lot of, a traumatic experience that had to do with how her body looked. And the moment that she lost weight and she started getting more attention from other people and more comments about her body in a different way, that triggered a lot of psychological wounds that she was bringing from growing up, that then she's like, I don't want this for me, right? Like, I was actually feeling better a different way, or with my body looking.
I was gonna say, I think this is actually pretty common.
Yeah. So it could be any of that. So I think it's important to keep in mind that for some people, change can feel risky and it can feel uncertain and something that they just not want to deal with at this time. And it's valid. And the other thing is something else that this podcast changed for me, that was life changing, because hey, out there, people, this is not just us recording things. Sometimes we learn stuff ourselves that change our own lives.
Yeah.
I know.
I've learned a ton doing this.
I know, right? So another thing that I learned, and that was from Tara, so you don't say that I only learned stuff from
Thanks,
Elizabeth,
girl.
you're welcome, is when I got clarity on my motivation, what my motivation was to make changes in my life, things became a little easier. Before, it was the motivation of, I just have to do it, get healthier, do this. So now is, I think Tara said it one time, and we've talked many times, is how do I want to feel in 20 years when I'm a grandma and I want to help my kids, carry stuff for college, and I want to be able to hop on a plane and go visit my kids if they're living somewhere else. I need to have the physical strength and emotional strength to do that. So that's a motivation for me. And that, having that motivation gives me a little bit more of push to do.
Yeah, you need a clear why. I mean,
Yes.
if you don't have a clear why and a clear goal you're working towards, then I think it's a lot harder to overcome resistance.
Yeah.
Even if it's not that clear, have a little why there. Even if it's a tiny way, like, hello, I'm here, very tiny. If you have a little why, it's fine. It doesn't have to be like, hello, I'm so clear, let's do this. Any why, and then that why might start developing as you figure out how do you want to do things. But find a little why that makes you feel excited, that if it happens, it can be really good. And now I picture myself at 70 years old, and those 70-year-old women out there that are like dancing and competing that Instagram shows me. I'm like, girl, that's gonna be me. I'm
I
gonna
just
be
yesterday
hip-hopping.
somehow got served up a video of she happened to be 76. I know, because it said a 76-year-old grandma, and she was water tubing with her grandkids and also like jumping with them off the dock. And I was looking
I
at
love it.
thinking like, that's what I want to be doing when I'm that old. I want to be hiking mountains when I'm that old. I just, maybe they'll be smaller and maybe I'll go slower, but I still want to be doing it.
We can still have this podcast when we're 76. That would be like 1,000, 2,000 episodes.
I was
Maybe
going to
more
say,
than-
I don't know if I have that
lot
much
of
to say,
episodes.
but
We will, girl. We will. What is that comment? The more you go through life, you're going to have more wisdom, Elizabeth, and you're going to experience new things and learn new things and meet new people. We're going to have a lot to talk about.
I told you, girl.
I thank you for that vote of confidence.
Change of mindset, please, people. Do not follow.
Okay, I have
these
two.
steps.
I have two the other things that
Hold on. I want to say one thing real quick. Elizabeth, to your point, I have a client who is 81 years old, and she just hiked the highest mountain in Bulgaria by herself. She didn't
Get
go
out,
with
that's
friends
awesome.
or anything. So if she can do it, you can do it.
Oh, she's going to be my new hero.
Ironically,
Yes.
her name is Tara.
Oh.
Huh.
Wow,
Good for
I
Taras.
love that. I want to be doing that.
I don't want to be hiking a mountain, but I want to be carrying my own luggage.
I want you to hike a mountain
Same.
with me.
No, I don't hike. I mean, I'm good.
Well,
at
when you come to our little wellness rebranded retreat, we're going to do a little hiking and we'll trade off. I'll do a little dancing if you do a little hiking.
Girl, half an hour. I can hike more than that.
Yes, you can.
Anyway.
Okay, so the two things that I wanted to say, picking back when you were talking about the kind of why and getting clear on your motivation, another thing that I really find often helps people overcome resistance is sometimes there's a lot of focus on the long-term goal, right? Like, oh, I want to be able to do this when I'm 70. And sure, that is important. But I always tell people you need the long-term goal, but you also need the short-term goal. Why today is it going to make your life better if you eat some more fiber or get yourself out on a walk or go to bed earlier? I think having the blend of sort of the short-term benefit and the longer-term benefit is really helpful to overcoming resistance, because if you're just thinking, oh yeah, but I want to be able to, lift the suitcase with my grandkids in 30 years, that's like, well, I got 30 years to work on that. Right? It's so much easier to put it off. So that was one of the things I wanted to say. And the other thing that I think no conversation on resistance should happen without talking about self-compassion and like,
Yes, I was gonna say that. that was my
sister.
last thing.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
You
we
guys
just
should have seen this high five. They
that
missed
was
twice.
Air 5 gone wrong.
Yeah, we tried a high
High five
five
gone
and it
wrong.
didn't go well. But that was my ending for this episode. Self-compassion.
See, we're so simpatico,
We've been
Maria.
doing this
or
for
what's
too
the
long.
word? Yes. Is that the
Look
word?
at Elizabeth busting out the Spanish.
Every now and then I bust out a Spanish word and everybody's shocked. I have a lot of them in my brain. I just don't say them very often.
Okay.
To be clear, it wasn't the right Spanish word.
Oh, well, that's what I was asking. It wasn't, what was I trying to say?
Like compatible?
No.
What did she even say?
Simpático?
No, simpático is like friendly, nice.
Yeah, it's like super
You
kind.
use it. Yeah, you use it for a person.
I mean, that's also true.
What were you trying to say in English?
Like when you're on the same wavelength. Like
Oh, I
we're,
don't know.
I think there's a Spanish word for that.
I don't know, connected,
That's
mentally,
English last I checked.
telepathy.
Conectada.
Anyway, yeah, self-compassion, right? Because we're all at various stages of change for various things we want to have happen in our lives. And I just always think you can't, for lack of a better way to say it, you can't shame or blame or hate yourself healthier or happier. It's just not going to happen.
Or use that as a motivation. Please know it doesn't work, okay?
Yeah.
When we go and we want to bring people down just so they get the motivation from somewhere and do what they need to do, it doesn't work.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. So a way to
No bueno.
No bueno. A way to motivate ourselves is through actually lifting each other up and lifting ourselves up. And picturing where you want to be. Again, I'm going to be picturing myself carrying my own luggage and traveling and helping my kids carry their furniture when they're in college and dancing. I want to do a lot of dancing until the actual day I die. And actually, ladies, the day I die, when my thing is there, whatever it's called, the casket, I want people dancing around Latin music, dancing around and eating chocolate cake.
Well, Beatty's chocolate cake.
Whatever chocolate cake, a
Yes.
good one.
Okay, I'll dance. I might be the only one, but I'll do it.
Why you would be the only one? I have friends that dance, okay? You're not the only one. And hopefully they'll come to my awakening. Anyway,
Wait.
that took a turn. Oh, yeah, my wake.
Final
That's the word.
thoughts.
Final thoughts.
Maria got grumpy for a second. Please excuse that
Final
interruption.
thoughts are that we are thankful you were here with us for another episode of Wellness Rebranded. And please know that we have our Instagram account, Wellness
I would love for people
Rebranded.
to send us in a message of either two things. What helps you overcome resistance, or what's something that you've been resistant to that you got past the resistance, and how'd you do it? And is there something right now that you're resisting and you're putting it out there that you're going to try to work on changing that?
Yes.
We'd love to hear from you.
And if you like this episode, share with your friends, leave a review, send us a message on Instagram at Wellness Rebranded. And until next time. Thank you for listening. If you want to connect with me outside of this podcast, you can find me on Instagram at coaching_therapist.
I'm Elizabeth. You can find me at Elizabeth Harris Nutrition or in my Facebook group, Health and Healing with Intuitive Eating.
And I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Tara DeLeon Fitness. Guys, if you loved this episode or any of our other episodes, we would love it if you would leave us a review on Apple Podcast. It really, really helps us get the non-diet word out to the rest of the world. So please leave us a review.
Yes, thank you.